Welcome to Let's Play Defender's Quest. I'm Lars and I'm the lead developer from Level Up Labs.
And I'm James Cavan, I'm the writer.
Cool, and last left off, we are now going to this next battle here. We're getting pretty close to the end of the demo content here. And now, what you see is kind of a mix of the various enemy types you've seen before. We've been slowly introducing several new enemy types. Enemies that can attack you, enemies that can attack you from ranged, enemies that are fast, enemies that are tough to hit. And now we're giving you a mix of almost all of those all at once here. Cool. And so this is one of my favorite backgrounds, kind of the monastery off in the distance. And as Azra kind of talks about here, you know, she's like, this looks more like a fortress than a temple, because in this kind of place, you know,
You just wanted to drive home the idea that anything that exists in the pit is going to have developed in response to that unique environment.
Right.
So we wanted everything to feel kind of like a cohesive part of this very specific world.
Right, and so they have that where basically they've got this big gate, it's one tiny narrow range of stairs on the top of a place. You know, this is where all your vulnerable people that are sick and injured are going to go, and so it needs to be really easily defensible. And then, of course,
Dun dun dun!
So here, for the first time, I started the battle while I was dragging with the hand, so now I've got the hand cursor. Let's see if I can fix that. Nope. Let's just start with it. Let's see if that fixes it. Nope. Okay, whatever. I've got a little grabby hand now. But anyway, so this battle, what's interesting about it is that we have three zones for the first time that the enemies are coming from. This is a new thing. And they're mostly all going to be just regular guys. So here we actually have to think about some strategy here. Is obviously these peninsulas are the best place for getting like a lot of max damage. But there's some considerations. If I put him here, he can hit 5 squares, but he's not going to be able to hit anything on blue or yellow.
Yeah.
Multiple lane coverage is just as important a consideration as maximum square coverage. So it might actually be better to put him somewhere like here. The other thing to consider is that more surface area for you to attack works the other way around. So that enemies that can attack can hit you more if you can hit them more. So my unarmored berserkers could actually be quite vulnerable on these peninsulas.
Yeah, I believe... I'm trying to remember my strategies for this one. I remember the first time I played it, I was definitely seduced by those tasty little peninsulas right there, and I got my butt kicked. So I tend to, with someone like Slack, like my beefiest berserker, I like to keep him fairly close, so I think that location is probably where I'd go for him.
And it's an even better peninsula when you get right down to it. It's got multiple lane coverage, it covers red, it covers blue, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, it's got basically 7 squares it can hit, and one of those squares converges at the exit, and so he can actually hit yellow enemies too. So if I put him here, my next strongest guy here.
Got some good goaltenders there. Now the problem that you run into, this is something that would bite me every single time, is I would put all of my like strong goalkeeper guys there, and then I just didn't have enough time to deal out the damage.
Right.
But fortunately we got some rangers.
Right, and so here's the question about where we want to put the rangers. Because obviously we can get a lot of good exposure if we put him like somewhere like here. You know, she can, with a little bit of boosting, she'll be able to cover the exit. She'll be able to get a lot of range here. But she's also exposed, and there's going to be attacking enemies, which means you definitely don't want to put her somewhere like this.
Yeah.
I could keep her safe and put her back somewhere like that, but then she's only hitting one place. So what I think I'm going to do is this looks really nice because I get all of this down on the bottom and then all that stuff on the left. And what I'll do is I'll put a berserker next to her. And I'm wasting him a little bit here, so to speak. Like, he's not getting maximum coverage on the top, but his goal is just to be a meat shield. And he is covering that entire middle range, which is the shortest.
Yeah.
And I currently don't have anyone there. And then this person, I could put her on the bottom to focus on the bottom. But, well, if I put her here, she won't hit anything on the bottom. So I should put her here so she can hit stuff on the bottom and be sandwiched between 2 berserkers. So they'll all spread out the damage. That means this guy might be a little vulnerable. We'll see how that goes. I'll boost Keta, and if I have any left, I'll boost her, which I can. So.
I love the little like super sped up jig.
Yeah, let's see. Strong, target strong, target strong. Target strong, target.
I just realized we need to create a special enemy that just flips the sprite the wrong way so that it moonwalks everywhere.
That would be
amazing. Incredible.
And that would be amazing. Okay, so far we're doing pretty good. I will boost her next because ranginess is important to this strategy. So you can see all of Keta's critical hits landing there. You know, when you have a 10% chance of a critical hit and you're shooting 4 arrows per cycle, you know,
it's pretty decent.
It's basically like every other attack is a critical hit.
Man, I really want Hulk Hogan there to just jump out of the ring and land on top of the guy.
We could rename him Hulk Hogan.
Was he Kesnimon now?
Yeah. Be a little breaking the fourth wall. Let's go. Okay, so now here, this was perfect. I didn't pay attention, but assuming I had, this is where I would have wanted to put all my guys. Because all the red guys are going to spread out their attacks across 4 different dudes, and everyone's just going to heal up and be safe. So this is something you can do, and we have this spell here to help us when we get into trouble. Now, all these ranged guys might very well murder Kared here. So,
sorry, little buddy.
So we're going to have to focus on killing stuff with our rangers, so that they kill stuff before it hurts him.
He's going to have a hard time. Well, oh, I didn't realize.
Oh, they are still spreading out their attack because they're ranged.
Yeah. I didn't realize they had that much range on them.
These guys attack too, and they hit. Well, they don't hit quite as hard. I can do this and still have enough for frenzy, which I might need, which I will. Because, yeah.
Unfortunately, like you pointed out, Slack can catch that very end there, the yellow trail, so he was able to wipe up some of those dudes.
Right.
I think Red probably.
Oh my gosh! Here. Oh my gosh! People are leaking. Okay, goaltend, 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 goaltend. Okay, here. Like, they're all converging at the exit at once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some strategic lightning to thin the crowd so that they actually have a chance of killing stuff. Okay. I'm glad I invested in a little lightning. That would have been a good time to use Frenzy, but I've already used it. So if I thin this crowd out just a little, they should be able to start handling it. And it looks like they can. They can handle that. Oh, yes. And switching, you always want to switch your rangers to first towards the end of the battle when you start dealing with problems like that. That is such an important tactic.
That was a little nail bitey there.
Yeah. But that's one of the things we wanted to make in this game is make it so it's not just about... Most tower defense games, like, there's very little interaction. You just put your dudes down and you just forget about it. Here we want to make it so, like, you're casting spells, you're clicking on guys, you're adjusting their strategy. You don't want to make it too much micromanagement, but just enough to keep you involved.
Yeah, you feel like you're part of what's going on. There's been games I've played where it just feels like, okay, so I play the game, which is setting everything up, and then I just have a really long loading screen before it tells me whether or not that was good.
Right. And so here what I've done is I'm focusing him on his main attack, and then I'm just putting him into swiftness. I'm sure the min-maxers on our forums will be like, that's not best. But we just want to have some variety for this. So basically, Kared here with that additional attack and will be... Both of these guys will be good coming right out of the gate.
And it's always handy, since Berserkers are the cheapest guys to field, other than healers, I guess.
Right.
But as far as people that punch things in the face that need to be punched, Berserkers are really nice to be able to plunk down like that.
Yeah, and here we see the old man again. We just jump into the monastery there. I actually had to work on this cutscene a lot, like, early on. So, like, I would just get the script from James, and it would have stuff in it, and it's like... And then they run into the monastery, I'm like, what does that look like? Fade to black.
Yeah, it's really hard to try to time all of your conversations to single sets. Like, there was points where it's like, this conversation needed to take place, and we needed to have that jump, and there was no way to end it before the jump on one mission and start it after the jump on another mission that wouldn't just feel incredibly stilted.
Right, and so I had to, like, add little stuff to the cutscene system to just accommodate stuff James wanted to do story-wise. In the original version of the game, you could only have 2 characters on screen. It was very limiting.
And we still, like, you can see that throughout 90% of the writing. Like, every now and then we'll pull someone else in, and that's basically just, like, a really shoestring and duct tape kind of hack going on.
Right, like, I've added the ability to put, like, 3rd and 4th characters in. But what you often see is, there are some awkward places where someone will exit stage left, a new character will replace them, and then the character who just left stage left comes in stage right.
Yep.
But, you know, So
that happens during our ending all the time.
Yeah, because
like, everybody needs to talk, but only 2 people at once. So take a number and wait, please.
Yeah, and so here you get Bakal, your healer. And finally, the mouse button resets. Congratulations, Lars. Yeah, because we don't even have the draggy hand anymore. It doesn't even show up anymore, so that must be some weird legacy code.
Huh.
Anyway. Whoops, I accidentally started that one again. Sorry about that.
We can take a shot at getting the Blood Feud Kapal.
Was that the special weapon there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one's great because you can upgrade it in New Game Plus, and then it becomes super awesome. So, what I think we'll do for this one is that we'll fight. This battle here is the first boss battle. It's the battle at the end of the demo, and then after that we will go and maybe play some more missions.
We need to get some of those
awesome
unique items.
Yeah, we need to actually upgrade ourselves before we do this, because we're going to get totally hosed.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't think this place has very good spots for rangers. Probably be good to...
Yeah, it'd probably be better to invest in. So I can't afford... Oh, that's $1,250. There's no way I'll afford that. I can't even afford this. Maybe if I sell my crap.
You could buy everybody metal shivs.
Yeah, I find it's generally best to focus on a couple of small, good investments than a bunch of terrible ones. Okay, and McCall already comes in here with pretty decent equipment, which is nice. We can't recruit healers yet. We have to beat this battle first. So here we can see some things. So this is the boss we're going to fight. And to avoid spoilers, we put that little question mark there.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine. Like, have you ever started up the original Zelda and then let it sit at the title screen for like a minute or two? It pops up, like it starts doing like a kind of little intro sequence.
Right.
And then it scrolls through every single treasure you get in the game. And it just hurts my soul. Like, I was stupid and let it run through that and it just ruined everything for me. So I'm one of those people that is like, no, everything has to be mysterious. I can't know what it is before I get it.
What did we do to make this little hand thing appear? Like, that's not even in the game anymore. Just like, wow, we did something really special. We might have to restart this. Whatever, I'll just leave it there. So this is where we have the bad guy's motivations not lining up. A lot of games, and just a lot of stories, just always have, like, the bad guys, like, always are, like, completely devoted to bad guyism, even if, like, their individual motivations don't line up. And so here, basically, Ozamal, like, after a couple of fights where you've just been slaughtering, you know, Revenant by the dozens, you know, zombies have never died before, so he's not used to casualties. And now, like, you've basically killed, like, a couple hundred zombies by now. That's, like, pretty much probably all that he had. And so they're out of... So we have to keep coming up with justifications for why there's still more zombies for you to fight. So he's out of zombies now. They're all dead. He thinks this was a completely stupid idea. Like, he's lost money on this operation, and he's fed up with his friend. Unfortunately, his friend is a badass necromancer.
And also not a very good friend.
Yeah. And so now Ozamal himself, and presumably all of his soldiers, become... I'm going to switch to the software mouse, just to get rid of the stupid hand. There we go, something that looks like a mouse cursor. And so here we tell people that you can recall characters. Whoops. And that you get that bonus. Because recalling characters in this map is essentially required for victory. Like, there's no way you can beat this battle if you don't move your characters around. And so this battle basically serves to not only be a test of everything you've done so far, but also and just introduce this new mechanic. And so we, at every stage, we, like, boss battles are kind of like tests at the end of a long class of video game-ness. So Ozamal here is a pretty tough keister. Basically, he's going to be very slow-moving. He's got a lot of hit points, and he's even got armor before. We've never encountered an armored enemy, which means he takes a damage tax off of every hit. And on top of that, he hits really hard, too. And so, meanwhile, once he summons, all these guys are going to come. And so we need to keep the little guys from reaching Azra and then farm them up so we can put enough damage on Ozamal before he slowly reaches Azra. Because if he reaches her, he's going to one-shot her. So
Yeah, the question here is, do we want our best damage dealer just gobbling up little guys and filling up that side meter, or do we want to keep plunking them down and wailing on Ozmal?
Right. What I've generally found works pretty well is, and this is where it's very, like, new players who aren't familiar with the strength and number strategies of grouping your characters together to keep them from taking too much damage, usually get wiped a lot on this battle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place just 2 Berserkers. And whenever you're dealing with armor and you don't have knights yet who can pierce armor, it's very important that you focus on getting your damage stat up. And so Slack here, double hit does the most damage per hit. And so raw DPS isn't my concern here, it's the most damage that goes over 3.
Yo.
And so overboosting him to level 3 is actually more advantageous against an armored foe than evenly spreading boosts out, even though he doesn't have a 3rd attack yet. Because that's more that directly gets through the armor. I'm not going to waste too much time on Rangers here. They will be kind of important, but I've got a huge amount of damage I need to sink into Ozmal. I'm going to put my healer here, and he has unique logic because all of his attacks are like healing based, you know. This makes him only heal people. It makes him skip his attacks if he can be healing someone, which is what we're going to do. And do we want to boost him?
I mean, Ether Flash at this point is, might help.
But it'll raise his healing ability, which is the real thing.
That's true.
So we'll do that. The other thing here, you'll notice that there is a new targeting thing that only shows up in boss battles. Target boss, and it's clicked by default, which means don't ignore the boss. And so this is for if you want to hit the strongest enemy that's not the boss. Oh, and you get an achievement for using these things so that you have some incentive to figure them out. But yeah, so we're going to... If these guys are focused on target strong, they're going to focus on the boss, because he's the strongest thing around. And there's 2 phases to this battle, basically. Before you've wiped out all the red enemies, and after. Because this guy and all of these guys whacking on your guys is like a lot of death. I think I'm going to put Keta here in the background. She's still within Bakal's range, and she's going to have a lot of ability to hit things there. And I'm going to make her focus on killing stuff, because you're very PSI starved in this battle. Like, you're always going to wish you had slightly more PSI than you have. And so right now, these guys actually aren't focusing on killing stuff. Because of Ozmal.
Well, they're just laying into Slack there.
Right.
Might honestly be worth plunking down our 3rd Berserker just to try to spread that damage out a little bit.
Right. Should I put him on this side? Well, I'll put him here because he'll get 2 bites at the apple.
That makes sense.
And since they've already passed through that way. Although that prevents him from getting too much help here. But Ozmal's already passed, so if he's not dead yet, he'll be okay.
Now, what is nice about this is that it takes long enough that you actually get like a good number of uses out of your Berserk spell.
Right.
So it's like you can almost always move your like damage dealers in time and then drop a Berserk right when Ozmal's in range.
Right, because once all 3 guys can start whacking on him, that's when I want to cast the Berserk spell, provided I have enough stuff for it. So I'm going to wait until he gets in range of Slack as well. There we go. Let's cast it, and you can see his hit points here. And so the gray damage numbers that are popping up signify damage that has been reduced because of armor. So we did pretty good. We got him down almost to half health there. And I'm going to leave this little meat grinder here until I finish off all of the red enemies. And then after that, all I really have to do is put 1 goaltender near the exit to make sure no worms leak, and then I'll be fine. And that can just be like a single berserker. So I'm going to keep him there, move him, move him. One thing is when you're recalling guys, if you recall a lot of guys at once, you should spend that money pretty quickly, because it might fill up your meter and you might lose some because your meter can't hold it all. So, let's see, I think it would be best to put Slack here. You might be tempted to put him on the peninsula, but that gives Ozmal just as many chances to attack you. And so that's generally not worth it, because Ozmal can take you down if you're not careful that way. I think I'll put him here. I probably should have put him on that row, because he's already passed by this side. Oh well. overboost slack. Yeah. And Ket is mostly just here to make sure that the worm, like if a worm gets past me, I can still hit it.
There's nothing more irritating than having that one last fast worm dart in and smash Azra right as you're about to hit perfect.
Right, that's pretty awful. And you have 9 PSI. So you can't avoid lightning. Okay, cool. So we actually make this look a little easier than it actually is.
Oh, we missed our chance for the frenzy.
Don't worry, we'll get another bite of the apple. So after he gets out of range there, like we make this look a little easier than it is because we went back and we made sure to get stuff like most people. This is the first time that they lose, and it's usually just something like a party life, which is not a way you typically lose in this game. You usually lose because
attrition.
Right, and so so we're making this look pretty easy, but like this is actually where a lot of players have trouble. And Ozamal has a special flag in his data called Nuke on Kill, which means that when he dies, everything dies, including any enemy waves that haven't summoned yet. And you do get XP for all of that stuff that gets nuked. And then one thing that was interesting here in Zelamir's flavor text is when I first saw the story of Zelamir turning Ozamal into a Revenant slave, I was thinking, well, why can't he just do that to anyone he doesn't like? Why doesn't he do that to Slack or Bakal or whatever? So I inserted a little bit of an explanation for that and then ran it by James, and he liked it, so we kind of went with that.
Yeah, originally I was going to have Zelamir stab Ozamal to death and then turn him, and I think that would have been a little bit too violent for our cutscenes. It's like we can get away with kind of hacky, slashy things in battle where everything pops into a little purple explosion, but
the real reason for me is I just didn't want to do the extra stabbing animation. It was easier to just make his eyes glow and have the other guy turn into a zombie. And so we kind of explain, you know, Zelamir can't do it to just anyone. He has to, like, have someone's trust and, like, slowly poison them. You know, and that explains why he can do it to Ozamal, who he's been hanging out with, but not to someone like Slack or Keta, who he's constantly fighting. So we won that battle, and you'll notice that you'll get these rewards down here. So these are the one-time rewards for beating it on normal. And you also get rewards for beating all of the lower level challenges. So we get the casual one-time reward too. So so if you're ever in a situation where you can go straight for the extreme mode, which is usually pretty rare, and if you skipped over advanced, you'll also get the advanced reward. So you don't have to like beat something easier than you've already done. And now Rapid Shot is amazing.
yes.
What's really amazing about Rapid Shot is for Rangers is it has the highest damage per hit. So whenever you have a Ranger going up against, say, an armored enemy, you want to spec them on Rapid Shot because the least tax per hit is done, so you have the biggest chance of getting through. Luella here, I think I'll probably spec her to just be a raw damage sharpshooter. Oh, this cutscene... This one took a while to do. We had to figure stuff out. So the thing is, basically, we're trying to have Zelamir talking to the people. And so when we initially wrote this, you imagine him like standing outside the window or something and like shaking his fist. But the problem is, with our visual cutscene engine, it's like, it's hard to do that because these guys are up here. And this guy's presumably down here, and how are we going to do that angle? Like, we'd have to create all new art, and
I think a lot of this had actually been written before we could do 3 characters at a time.
Right, yeah.
I want to say. Like, I think back, like, we're making use of that now, where we have Bakal standing in the background, but I think when we initially were designing this, we had just the Revenant on the floor in the middle, and then Bakal and Azra facing each other. Because that was the only way characters could exist on the screen.
Right, exactly, yeah. And then I later hacked it so that I just had a character which was just Azra plus Bakal.
Yep.
But now you can actually have them in separately. Anyway, so the other problem was, we're like, well, Zelamir's like a magician, a wizard guy. Like, why doesn't he just like communicate with them telepathically?
Because that's lame.
But, well, the real reason for that is that then he can... Ostensibly, if he's going to respond to them, that means he needs to be able to see and hear what they're doing. Which means he can just, like, watch wherever they are. Yep. Which means he can just be this omnipresent god who just shows up whenever he wants. So we couldn't make him that powerful. And they were like, well, he's already... And then I think it was you, James, said, well, he's already a necromancer. There's one zombie that's maybe slightly less dead than the others. He's already, like, channeling his energy through them and moving them. Obviously, you could just make their lips move. And so that's what we decided here. And it really solves that problem. So Zelimir talks to them from far away in a position where he's not able to threaten them, but still be able to have a conversation with them without us having to, like, have, like, a weird, crazy angle down shot.
Some sort of MC Escher monastery scene.
Right, because I originally did it just with him up against a cliff face and talking, like, just using this perspective, and people didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah.
Like, because it would switch from this scene to this scene, except it was like a sheer cliff and his eyes were facing forward and it just wasn't obvious.
Yep.
And this just seemed like the best way to do it. And it makes them scary. And then this is the first time he's mentioned by name. And this is where we also start to give a little bit about Zelimir's motivation. Because he's not just a crazy, bad, evil madman. Like, he actually has reasoning behind what he's doing. And this is where we get the first taste of that.
I mean, really, when your villain is driving all the action of your story, he needs to have one of the most well-fleshed-out motivations of any character.
Right. And the other thing that really... And this just goes into the general concept of motivation in general. In so many stories, characters don't have real motivations. Like, you can tell when there's a story driven by plot, because it's like, this happens next because that's what needs to happen. But people do stuff for reasons. People want things, and having, like... And one of the real challenges in this game was giving everyone a motivation that gets them to go through all the plot points we want. And so Keta wants to escape. Azra just wants to get out of here. Bakal, you know, presumably wants to get people to safety too, but he's also got some kind of little backstory to it. Slacks just loves killing things and is there for the fun. And then Zelimir's chasing them for reasons that'll be divulged later.
Yeah, that was actually one of the big decisions for this setting, is we wanted a reason for people to keep going with Azra and not just ditch at the first chance. It's like, why will these people fight to the death for this person?
Right.
Rather than running to the hills and saving themselves. We just created a world where that's not an option.
Right. It's like your only chance of survival is to face Azra, because otherwise the zombies will just hunt you down one by one and kill you, because you can't fight them without her. And anyway, so here we learn that Zelimir, in terms of TV tropes land, his character archetype is what they call it?
The
unfettered?
I think that might be it, yeah.
Yeah, it's something like unfettered or unrestrained.
He gets a couple of them.
But basically, he's not strictly speaking evil for evil's sake. He just is not bound by any... Like he's got one goal that he's going to pursue, and he's willing to pursue that to the exclusion of all other ends, including not murdering people. Like, that doesn't mean he will murder people just because, or kick puppies just because he feels like it. But if the puppies are between him and his goal, he will stomp on every last one of them. And that keeps us from having it feel like he acts totally out of character later in the game, when a little reveal happens and things change. That's all done because it's still in line with his motivations. The circumstances have just changed. And apparently his motivation is something about saving the world. It's not too often that you have the villain whose motivation is saving the world. Although his methods leave something to be desired. And we get some hint that, you know, these people used to know each other.
Dun dun dun, troubled backstory. I would also settle for having Bakal's scar there in place of my eye patch. Like, I'd be alright with that one.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the end of that. And then the demo lets you go to this town and restock and have one last cutscene, and then that's the end of the game. So that's what we're going to do, and then we're going to end this episode. So here in the monastery, you can have a couple of weapons. We still can't afford the super awesome sword. But we can recruit an extra healer if we want, which we might want to do now. What do you think?
Ezron, I feel like I'm going to get fleeced for all of my retirement money.
That's a Quaid name, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's make him look Quaid then.
I think one of the Quaid names here is like a bajillion letters long, and it's, how does it go? Neorxinawanga?
Yeah, Neorxinawana, yeah. There's, what is this, Xeowan?
Xeowan, yeah.
Xeowan, and then there's a female version, Xeowana, and then there's Neorxeowana.
Which is actually an Old English word that we don't actually know where it comes from. Like, it doesn't really share the characteristics with other Old English words. It seems like it's a loan word from something. We have no idea what. But it means from paradise.
Oh, cool. Maybe that's where it's from. Oh, cool. Alrighty. I would like to put something on my healer so that he's not totally
Might invest in a vest. Kind of quality wordplay that I'm paid for.
Cool. I'll grab him a staff. Get Bacall a staff too, and I'll just give that guy the hand-me-down. You can go directly to the equip screen from here. Click on this guy, equip that, and in this menu you can see all the stuff that these people can equip. Oh, let's talk about the equipment system a little bit because we're winding down here. This took us a lot of iteration to do. Like, there's a lot of stats here, but I wanted to keep it simple. I did want to spell out the names of the stats somewhere and not just have them all be icons so that you would have some reference point. And I figured the party thought was a good place to do that.
Have you played Dark Souls?
No.
Drove me
I've heard
crazy.
it's great, but also
Like,
crazy.
Wait, no. Shoot, which one is it? There's Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and I can't remember which one comes first.
Dark
I only played
Souls is the
first
second one.
Okay, I played
Demon
Demon
Souls
Souls,
is the first.
and they have like every single stat associated with weapon has its own symbol, except the symbols are all like little made-up runes that don't actually have any mental connection with the thing they're representing. So damage is just like a swirly, and then like defense is a swirly going the opposite direction. It made my head want to explode. But then I guess that was like the theme of the entire game, so it may have been deliberate.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to come up with good symbols. Like, I'll have to go into the battle system to see it. But like, one thing is I wanted to communicate. So one problem in games, in RPGs, is equipping characters takes forever. I wanted to really streamline that process here. And so one of the things you see is you can see at a glance what everybody has equipped and how much of a bonus it's giving them. So like, if you want to move some armor to someone else, you can see who's got what, and you can show equip here. So I can grab his hide right now if I want, and I can put an empty sackcloth on him really easily. And, you know, when I'm in skills mode, it shows experience, and in equip mode, it shows these little things, so I can see that these guys are all getting this stuff. So I know if everyone's got, like, the best stuff. And then it's just really easy to equip here. You can double-click to equip something, you know, so that's really fast. And then it just shows you... We simplified everything. Weapons only have one stat, defense only has one stat, and it just adds directly to your base attack or defense stat. In New Game Plus, we get crazy and we add special abilities to everything. And then the special ability shows up in the tooltip. But we don't get into that right now because we wanted to keep things simple. And then, but I think that was really important because in a game where you have 36 character slots that you can potentially fill, like, getting everyone equipped can take a really long time if everyone has a weapon, a breastplate, leg armor, foot armor, 10 rings, an accessory, you know, I mean, and so I wanted to keep it simple enough so that it was manageable, but still deep enough to be, like, useful and stuff. So, and this is the last cutscene. Oh, and this is, so this is the thing. So Bacall belongs to what's the name of the religion?
It's the Seleni.
That's the name of the group. You would call them like the Seleni, like that's the adjective.
Yeah, it's following the prophet Selenot that we have down there at the bottom.
Right. Yeah, and so this is a little blurb from Selenot. And And so this is where we get a little bit of explanation of what is going on with the Revenant and who's controlling them. And here, the first hypothesis is that Zelamir's driving these things. And that's basically accurate, but there's more to it than that.
This was actually something that worked with quite a bit. The idea that basically our zombies are kind of tiny little robots that someone's filling with energy and then remote controlling.
Oh, that's where the little hand comes from.
The mystery thickens.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, like... And then the zombies were the perfect enemy for tower defense, because it's like, okay, we need some mindless enemies that move single-mindedly towards one goal with very little concern for their own health, and it would be really nice if we could make them walk in, like, predictable patterns.
Yep.
So your choice is zombies, ants, or robots. Cool. So we'll sign off for now. This is the end of Act 2. We're into Act 3. If you ever want to watch any of the cutscenes, you can just go to Movies, and you can rewatch them at any time, like especially if your cousin drops yogurt on your computer. And I tried to be like, this was originally a browser-based game. Like, it was originally just supposed to be like a quick 3-month project that we did. I then go for like a regular Flash sponsorship, and then it just got huge. And one thing is that I wanted to make it so that if someone closed the browser in the middle of the game at any point, the game would be able to gracefully restore whatever position it was in. So if you're watching a cutscene for the first time and you haven't finished it, and your game crashes, or you close the browser in the original version, it remembers that you started the cutscene but that you didn't finish it. And so when you load your save, it'll immediately load up that cutscene that the game crashed in. So you don't start and then start playing and then don't realize that there was a cutscene you missed half of. And tons of other stuff like that. Like that happens like when you get a character. It's like, you started to get this character, but you didn't finish it. Oh, I think it actually just gives you the character at the beginning before you click the button. Anyway, so it's designed to be really robust like that so that you don't have those little problems that some games that will remain nameless have. And mute buttons, because congregate players demand them.
How else are you going to play at work?
Shh.